are about to connect with people who are ready to bring you the most open, honest, and revealing life stories. Welcome to Journey TV. Welcome to today's episode of Journey TV. I'm Marlene Camille, your host, and today I have a very special guest with me. Elle Clarke is here to share her journey with you. Elle?
Thank you so much, Erlene, for allowing me to be a part of your show. It is amazing, and it's a great experience to be a part of your show.
I'm about to thank you for being here already, because I know what you leave here with my viewers is going to shake them and change them completely. I followed you on Facebook, and your ministry is an experience. And as soon as you open your mouth, you minister. It doesn't matter what comes out, as soon as you open your mouth, whatever is released.
Thank you so much for that. And I give God all the praise and all the glory, because it isn't about me, it's about Him, and it's about leading people to the cross, not to Elle, to the cross.
Awesome, and you are doing that. You have impacted and inspired me. So, like I said, my viewers are in for a treat today. So I know that you have Queen Magazine. I know, things about you, but I want you to introduce yourself to my viewers.
I'm Elle Clarke, and I'm the CEO and founder of Elle Clarke Media Group, as well as I Am Queen Magazine. Now, I Am Queen Magazine was founded to help women, everyday women, celebrities, it doesn't matter who you are, to give them a voice and to help them amplify their voice to the masses. There are a lot of people that have stories, because you're doing an amazing job with this show with Journey TV, their stories need to be heard. But sometimes, because they're not a big name, people kind of push them to the side. And so that's what I Am Queen Magazine was created to do. And because we were a platforming everyday women, we got the eye of some celebrities, and we had a lot of opportunities to, cover a lot of amazing shows like the Stellar Awards, the BET Awards, Essence Fest. We had some amazing people on the cover as well. We had anyone from, MC Light. We had the opportunity to interview Mary, SWV, so many different people through the magazine. Yeah. And so what we're doing now, we just launched the version for the Bahamas, and so now we just want to continue to develop until we are literally on platforms alongside magazines like Essence and Vogue.
Awesome. So we get to see the success, right? But through you sharing your journey today, we're going to hear more about the process to get to that success. But congratulations on all of your success with Queen Magazine. So, as a child, what were you like?
Well, let's see. So I always liked writing. I remember being in the 5th grade, and I said to myself, there are a few things that I wanted to be: a fashion designer, a pastry chef, and I wanted to be a New York Times bestselling author. Well, I haven't completed all of those, but I'm in the process of it. And so, during my childhood, it was very difficult. I went through stages where I was molested more than once. And there were times when, I thought, why isn't my mommy trying to save me? Or why aren't my parents trying to save me? And so in that moment, as I was growing up, I already had a foundation to the fact that I knew that I was going to do something with my life, and I wanted to use my story to impact others. As we fast forward a little bit more, I became a police officer. I was a police officer for 12 years. I was a detective, actually. And while a detective that investigated rape, I was raped.
During that time?
During that time, yes. I was a detective at that time, and someone that I would have charged with a crime a few weeks prior, it just so happened that he broke into the house, and when he realized whose house he broke into, this was a lady that just arrested and charged him. He decided that, I'm going to rape her, because it seemed as though they were just coming there to rob us, but they ended up raping us. When he saw my photo on the wall in the front room, because the house was dark, so he was unable to see me. But when he saw who lived there, that kind of made him angry, and he said, I'm going to get her back. So that's basically what he said to me. And so after that time, I was a detective now, so all of my colleagues now have to come and investigate. I'm not like, a police officer that worked in a station. I dealt with high-profile cases, and so everyone that I worked with had to now come and investigate my case. So I was ashamed. There were times when my daughter was only 5 months old. You see her sitting there. She was 15 now, and she's well aware of this story because we already had this conversation. And so she was 5 months at the time, and I remember while this was happening, the only thing I could do was was repeat the the 23rd Psalm, and I say, Lord, and I was not saved at the time, but the only thing I could do was say, Lord, please save us and don't let them harm her. And so, after the ordeal happened, they came in, they had knives to our neck because I had a roommate at the time, and they did what they did and they left. But when they left,
Both of you were female?
both, yes, my roommate is a female. And so they both did what they had to do when they left. And so after that, I went through a lot of different emotions. I wanted to commit suicide, and my anchor was my daughter, because I said, if I was to leave her, are you going to leave her now to be raped, to be molested like you were? That would be selfish. And so I had to stay here.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna come right back for you to finish your story. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Nkosi Kweku-Simonet, CEO and Operations Manager at Sign Island. Sign Island started from desperation. My wife went ahead and bought the first printer. I still have no idea how we are where we are. I owe it all to my staff and my customers. You need support. One man is not an island. You can't do it on your own. If you think you can do it on your own and you are succeeding, you can do even more with a little bit of support. The support I've got from my clients has been amazing.
Welcome back. But if you are just joining us, I'm here with Elle Clarke, and she just shared with us that she was actually raped while she was a detective. Elle, I am completely blown away by your story. Like I said, I've been following you, so I know how inspiring you are, but now I understand on a different level where that fire comes from. You were a detective, and you said that someone that you would have been a part of the investigation. That person was charged. That person actually was the assailant. Like, he was the person that did this to you. One, you were an adult. It's just that happening as a grown adult. I mean, it's horrible for children and adults. But how did you process that? Like, what happened after they left? After everyone came, got the report, and then they left. What?
Well, the first feeling that came over me was shame, depression. Like, I just went through so many emotions, especially because of my daughter, because I was trying to figure out, I was like, Lord, okay, when I was a child, I could not do anything about it, but I'm an adult now. I felt as though I was powerless because I was a police officer. How is it that I am a detective and I'm being raped? So I felt like a child all over again. And so, I went through years. How I dealt with it at the time, I would spend a lot of money. I would be the Donny and Burke bags, the Gucci, the David Yurman, and I did a lot of this because I was trying to buy back the value I thought he took from me. And so while, everybody deals with things differently, some people drink, some people, do a lot of different things, but mine was shopping and just getting into a lot of debt because I wanted to have the appearance of freedom, but I wasn't free. I was crying on the outside, but people couldn't even see. And so shopping was my addiction. And it wasn't until let's say about 5 or 6 years later, when I gave my life to the Lord, that I began to unpack all of the hurt, all of the pain that I had not only from the rape, but from a child. And so, I remember one day the Holy Spirit told me to look into the mirror and to say everything that happened. And I thought it was dumb because I said, God, I know what happened to me. Why do I have to repeat what happened to me? And he said, do it. And so I looked in the mirror and I began to say everything that happened to me. And that's when I realized that I had a lot of hatred and bitterness, even for my parents from so many years ago. And all of it began to surface. And so that was like the first step of me unpack. First, you have to unpack what you went through. A lot of times with sexual assault victims, we like to act as though it didn't happen. And pretending as though it didn't happen doesn't make it any less true. And so it's not until you come face to face with it and you look at it and you say, you know what? I went through this, but this does not define me. But if you continue to hide behind what happened to you, you will never get free from it. And so looking in the mirror and telling myself what happened to me may have sounded stupid at the time, but I now understand how important it was because I needed to get it all out, and all the tears and all the hatred and all the anger began to come out. And then I was able to go through the steps. And some of the things I did, one of the things that the Lord told me, I had to forgive myself because I blamed me. I was an adult. I had security bars, I had security alarm system. How did they get through all of these things? I did everything to me. I did everything humanly possible to ensure that I am always safe. And I was a safety officer, I was a police officer who's supposed to ensure safety. How could this happen to me? And so I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive my parents, because everything that happens stem, a lot of times people don't understand. They think that these things just happen, but it doesn't. It's a generational curse. I had family members that would have experienced sexual assault and no one confronted the demon. And so I had to realize that this was something beyond the physical. So I had to now stand up and say, you know what, this is not going to happen to my children, because I have 4 daughters. And I said, I need to now, I am admitting what happened to me. It happened. I'm not going to hide it, because hiding something does not make it any less real. We pack up these things in a closet as though it's not going to happen. And one day the closet just opens up and everything comes flooding out. And I don't want that to happen to my children. And so I began to, unpack it. I took it one day at a time, because you need to understand, even as there's no time limit on your healing. Don't allow anybody to rush you. You got to go through that process. And for me, it took a long time. For someone, it might take a year. There's no time limit on your healing, as long as you continue to go day by day to be better, to understand what happened to you. And I remember when it initially happened, when I took my first shower, because as rape victims, the first thing you should do, you shouldn't take a shower. You should stay that way, so that whatever evidence that's on your body that the police officers can find. And so I remember after taking my first shower, I heard the Lord say, and I wasn't saved at the time, and this has happened so that you can, because you have the ability to bear it and share it. And I literally almost cursed God at that moment, because I said, Lord, something less drastic could have happened to me. Someone could have rolled over my toe. Why did you allow this to happen? And so when he said that, I didn't understand until years later when I wrote my book, How I Escaped the Prison of Rape. And I saw the amount of women that emailed me and inboxed me and told me about, they never even told their husbands or their parents that they were raped. And now they got the freedom because of my story to share it. And so that's when it clicked, and I said, okay, this is what you said, but that I had the ability to bear it and share it. And so, even, your ability, your forgiveness, if you say you forgive, it's going to be tested. Because I remember when I said that I had forgiven the person that assaulted me, I literally had to, he was in my cell again. For a second time. Wow. And so I remember, normally after the incident happened, after I had administrative leave, but when I came back to work, I would see him on the road, and I would break down crying in the police car, and they would have to take me back to the station. And that happened for years. And this time when I saw him, this is how I knew I forgive him, because I didn't cry. I felt compassion. It was like I could see that the little boy that was being abused himself. And I realized that in that moment I had truly forgiven. And now he's deceased now. And I am glad that I got all of the hatred, all of the bitterness, and I had to be confronted with that. And that's how I knew that I forgave him. And I forgive him.
You just talked about so many different things. You talked about how you processed it. You talked about how you blamed yourself. And I'm sitting here thinking, how could she blame herself? But each of us deal with, we receive things differently. You talked about the steps, how you were able to look at yourself in the mirror. That started your process. And you also talked about forgiving him. Elle, I'm going to say this early before we close. You have to come back here on Journey TV, because all those different things that you touched, those are whole shows on their own. But what I want you to do now is just tell us about your book, because you mentioned when you got to a certain point, you were able to release the book. So give us the experience of the book and your healing.
Well, remember, I was in the 5th grade, I wanted to write a book about my story. And because of the molestation I went through. And so I didn't completely understand what I was asking for at that time. And so I was writing a book for 5 years before I even released it. And I remember the Holy Spirit said, it's time for it to be released. So I spoke with my husband, I had to make sure he was okay, because he knew the story and everything. And he said, if the Lord tells you to release the book, then release the book. But it wasn't the whole book. It was only the part of the molestation and the rape. So in that freedom, I was able to write and release my book. It was my very first book, How I Escaped the Prison of Rape, The Journey to Total Freedom. It was an Amazon bestseller for about a week. And the book really details everything, like every step that I took, how, the forgiveness, how I had to forgive myself, forgive my parents, and really unpack all of the things that I went through. And so, when I released the book, I didn't expect, the response that I got. Now I got both positive and negative responses. But the positive outweighed the negative, because now there were a lot of women that were able to even admit and confess to their own family members, that someone would have touched them. And so I am grateful that I had the opportunity to even share the story. And even though I went through so much, I still wouldn't change a thing, because it would diminish the impact of my anointing. It would diminish the impact of my story. So I wouldn't want to go through it again, though, but I wouldn't change a thing.
What I want you to do is I want you to talk to our viewers out there who might have experienced something that just completely shook their whole world, and just their entire foundation was shattered, because yours was shattered by what happened to you. I want you to talk to them and give them some advice on just how they can move forward.
Well, I know that, everyone has their own belief system, but for me, the way I was able to get through everything that I went through from a child even up to adulthood was God, was Jesus, Jesus, because if it had not been for him, I would have committed suicide. If it had not been for him, I would have probably ran my car into the guy that raped me. But it was because of him, his love. That's what kept me. And I always thank my grandparents for instilling that foundation on the inside of me. Just like the story of the prodigal son, he had a foundation, and because he had a foundation, he was able to go back home. And so that's what happened for me. I was able to go back home. I was able to go back to the Father and really, tell him, God, why did I experience some of these things? And, even the rape itself, I don't know, whether you believe it or not. I literally had a dream, and in my book you will find it as well, where I saw someone coming into my room with a knife. And I knew that dream was a warning dream, and I wasn't saved, because many of you are dreamers, and God would give you warnings in your dreams, but you don't take heed. And so that happened a week before the guys actually came in. Exactly how it happened in my dream is how it happened. And so God speaks to us in so many different ways, but we do not like to listen. And so for me, I had to hold on to the rock. I had to hold on to the cross, and it was only because of Jesus. I could give you the steps, and the steps was forgiveness. I had to unpack all of these different things, but the root of it was Christ. And so if you don't know Christ today, I would invite you to give your life to the Lord, because that's my strength. That's who saved me. And because he saved me, I am here today standing strong. I am no longer angry at the people that molested me, the man that raped me, all the things that I thought at the time my parents allowed to happen to me. I am totally free, and I have forgiven them. And I couldn't do that on my own. I could only do that because of Jesus.
Elle, this is what the show is about sharing stories of strength, resiliency, and strength to support people, to speak life into them, to let them know that they can overcome, because you are sitting here and you are an overcomer. You just spoke love, light, and healing into homes across the nation. So what I want you to do is just to tell our viewers how they can reach you, how they can follow you on. Yes.
Okay, well, you can find me on Facebook as Elle Clarke, on Instagram as I am Elle Clarke. You can also follow, my initiatives. I Am Queen Magazine, so it would be I Am Queen Magazine US on Instagram, and I Am Queen Magazine BS on Instagram, as well as ECM Global on Instagram. My website is www.iamqueenmagazine.com, and if you'd like to email me, you can email me at hello@iamqueenmagazine.com.
Thank you again for sharing your story here. I am going to continue to follow you, cheer you on, and continue to do the amazing work that you're doing through all of your platforms.
Thank you so much, Erlene, and thank you for Journey TV, because you are doing an amazing job as well. Thank you for giving all of us a platform to speak and to share our story across the nation as well. I pray God's richest blessings over everything that you're doing, and I can't wait to see what you do next as well.
Thank you. We'll be right back on Journey TV.
Want to learn more about our guests? Subscribe to Footprints Journey blog, where special features will be released to give you more insight into their journeys and allow you to ask them questions.
We want you to journey with us. Footprints! I am an overcomer.
I am an overcomer.
I am an overcomer.
And you? You are an overcomer. I know because you have endured and persevered through so many of life's biggest challenges.
Join us for stories like yours, stories of incredible strength, courage, and survival. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m., right here on RTV.
Journey TV.
Journey TV.
We share
Life's truths.
The Give Back, presented by Ensure. Your life, your health, your Ensure.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Miles Monroe Jr. I'm here representing the Miles and Ruth Monroe Foundation. And this was a foundation that was established after the passing of my parents, Dr. Miles and Ruth Monroe. And with this foundation, what we want to do is just continue the work that my parents started. One of the core values that they had as individuals was belief in people and really inspiring and encouraging people to discover who they are, discover their purpose. We're a very community-based organization, both locally here in the Bahamas and internationally. And the things that we hope to do and want to continue to do is, provide the basic necessities. So, whether it's a plate of food or some groceries, we've started a housing initiative after the Hurricane Dorian came through and really devastated the islands of Abaco and Grand Bahama. We started a housing initiative where we were putting individuals and families in homes, in temporary homes, so that they can, get their lives back on track and really take some stress off of figuring out where they would need to stay as a family. So we encourage people who want to volunteer to be a part of our many events. We do a lot of community-based events. We have a food drive that we do throughout the year. We have a back-to-school drive that we do. We have a partnership with a lot of the children's homes here in the Bahamas that we support. So if you want to be a volunteer, you can reach out to us. You can call us. Our numbers are 242-808-6864. Or you can email us at info@mrmfoundation.org. You could also visit our many social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all are the MRM Foundation.
Move with strength and energy. Drinking Ensure, you get vitamins, minerals, and up to 30 grams of high-quality protein. Your life, your health, your Ensure.
So Philippa, earlier, Elle Clarke shared her story with us. Of course, she is so inspiring and we were so blessed to have her. What did you think about that session?
First of all, let me tell you that I have Elle's book, right? Mm-hmm. So as soon as that book was published and released, I got a copy of Elle's book. I admire her for her courage to share her story, and she's using her story as a platform to educate other persons, as well as to show them that they can find their way out. Mm-hmm. I want to just speak to rape in general, and when I say rape, I want you to think about a person's body being violated, but more than that. It goes into the person's spirit, into the person's soul, and that's also a robbery or violation that takes place, okay? The body itself remembers the trauma that has happened to it, and rape, the recovery from rape, is a long journey. One of the things that rape victims experience that is worthy of mention is this false sense of blame. Like they struggle for a very long time blaming themselves for what happened to them.
Does that happen more with adult victims compared to child victims?
There's no difference.
There's no difference?
There's
Interesting.
No difference. Mm-hmm. There's no difference. Survivors of rape, period, go through a period of feeling guilty. What did I do? And there is what we call a phrase we call re-victimization or victimized again. Mm-hmm. And one way this takes place is when persons who are aware of what happened, they are insensitive or informed, and they say to, whether directly or indirectly, to the survivor, basically, what did you do to cause this or to bring this on? So that compounds the guilt that they are already experiencing. So if I could say something to our viewers or anyone out there who has been violated by rape, I want to say to you that you should give yourself compassion, okay? Give yourself patience and time to heal. It is definitely a journey that takes time, and each person's healing journey is different. The timetable or the length is also different, but I want you to know that there is help. You are not to blame for what has happened to you, and I would encourage you to direct or redirect that self-blame to where it actually belongs, to the perpetrator, okay? That is the person who is responsible for what has happened to you. There is help that's out there. There is crisis counseling that you can seek, and I want you to know that you can live a free and a secure life again, because fear is something that I know many persons face after they've been violated. So you can feel safe again. And with the right interventions, you can live a safe, a free, and a trusting life again.
Thank you so much for that message. And thank you for joining us this week on Journey TV. Until next time, give love and light to the people around you. But most importantly, don't forget to give it to yourself. Join us next time for more Journey TV.